I've decided to go live. There are some things on my mind I wish to get off my chest, and I will get them off. I will. The first thing I want to get off my chest, right? Because a lot of guys, and I don't understand this. Well, really, I do understand it. And I'm not going to be on live for too long because I got some other things I want to do and get out of the way before the day is out. So I'm not going to be live for an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours. I just wanted to get this off my chest, off the dome, off the top of my head, that you got a lot of guys, and I've said this before. This is not a new subject. Tone, what's good? Jakal, what's good? Brown Gone One, what's good? Feminine Angry Dwarf, what's good? Happy Easter to everybody. But I just wanted to get this off my chest. When we talk about fighters that are overrated or underrated, I don't want to hear anybody's opinion about a fight. Like, I don't really care. Like, I don't care how somebody thought it should have been scored or what they thought should have happened. I have to open the door to even consider your opinion because that's what it is. It's an opinion. I have to open the door to even consider your opinion because the facts and the stats are what the facts and the stats are. And your opinion is irrelevant to those facts and stats. So when we talk about fighters that's overrated or underrated, for example, I'm looking at it in a very matter-of-fact way. I remember when Chocolatito was ranked as the #1 pound-for-pound fighter, people had the nerve to call him overrated. They didn't know nothing about that man's career. They didn't know nothing about the people that he fought, but they had the nerve to call him overrated, and he was an undefeated 4 division champion at the time, but they called him overrated. Hey, what's good, Mark? They called him overrated. Now I'm just gonna do a quick live. This is not gonna be a long live. I'm just doing this live because I was just talking to a guy who was trying to tell me that Leonard Bundu was a big win for Errol Spence. He was trying to tell me that Chris Algieri was a big win for Errol Spence, and I'm over here laughing like, bro, what about them wins was big wins? Who did Leonard Bundu, who was 41 years old at the time that he fought Errol Spence, who did he beat that he would be a big win for anybody? Like, who did he beat? He wasn't a big win for Keith Thurman, and he was undefeated when he fought Keith Thurman, but he wasn't a big win. I don't understand people. I really don't understand people. I would invite any one of these guys who think Errol Spence, that I'm being a hater to Errol Spence. I would invite any one of them to come on this live with me, and we could talk about it because I know his career better than you do. I've been following him longer than you have. That's why I'm in a position where I can make an educated an analysis about that fighter. I've been following him longer than you have. You want to come on real quick? Because I'm not going to be on for 5 hours, right? I'm not going to be on for 5 hours. But if you want to come on batshit crazy, I'll leave a link in the description box because I'm not going to be on here too long. But it's a lot of fighters that I think are overrated. I always thought Gennady Golovkin was overrated. That doesn't mean I didn't think he was a good fighter or I didn't think he was a pound-for-pound fighter, but I could tell you that I have never had Gennady Golovkin ranked as the #1 pound-for-pound fighter. Never, ever. That was another fighter that I thought was, yo, that dude is overrated, man. You a great middleweight, and you might be a pound-for-pound fighter, but #1? Hell no. Errol Spence, super duper overrated. Gervonta Davis, he shouldn't even be in the conversation at all. He shouldn't be in no conversations about anything, dog. Like, the dude hasn't fought nobody in 2 going on 3 years. Really 4, almost. You know what I'm saying? Elitism is not measured based on opinions. Elitism is not based. That's how you measure elitism. And anything outside of that is an opinion. Anything outside of that is an opinion. The only way I know you an elite level fighter is if you fighting other elite level fighters. And elite level fighters are not elite level fighters based on your opinion. They're based on whether or not they were champions or whether or not they were top 10 contenders. That's the only thing that makes them elite. Not a motherfucker sitting at home eating popcorn thinking he knows something about boxing. That like, I don't know why y'all think so much of yourselves and your opinions, but none of y'all is Bert Sugar. None of y'all is Howard Cosell or nothing like that. So your opinion on the fight don't matter. That's why nobody listened to you. See what I'm saying? The only way I know somebody's an elite level fighter is if they was either top 10 in their division or they was a world champion. Mark was good.
Not much, just sitting around eating popcorn, thinking I know shit about boxing.
Yeah, man. I was talking to this guy. He was trying to tell me that Leonard Bundu and Chris Algieri was elite level wins, man. Yo, dog, I almost fell out of my chair. Like, what? What?
Neither guy was ever an elite fighter. Algeria was good. Bundu was okay. I mean,
Algieri had a good win under the welterweight division. At welterweight, he
yes.
didn't do anything. He
No,
didn't
he
do it.
didn't, but he was okay. But once again, context is pivotal. If you look at it, to be honest, just for name and level and resumes, etc., arguably the second best win on Errol Spence's resume is Lamont Peterson for name. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? But context is pivotal. Where was he in his career?
at the end, the ass end. The ass end.
Where was Algieri?
Ass end.
Where was Bundu?
Ass end. He never fought after that. That's how
Right.
you know he was
So,
on the ass end of his career. And he was
right.
41. He was 41 years old. No elite level wins in the welterweight division or any division. His claim to fame was going 12 rounds with Keith Thurman.
Uh-huh. So let's put another thing into context. One of the greatest fighters of all time, Muhammad Ali, right? We all know that. One of the greatest fighters of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Arguably the best name on his entire resume. People always bring up the Listons, they bring up the Foremans, they bring up Pattersons, they bring up the Fraziers, they bring up Norton. But arguably the best name on his entire resume is Archie Moore. But where was Archie Moore?
Ass end. Ass end.
And why don't they bring him up?
Because
why
he was
don't
on the ass end.
exactly?
I mean, it's the same thing. Look, it's the same thing as nobody sits around saying or considering Trevor Berbick's win over Muhammad Ali as an elite level win because they know what state of his career Muhammad Ali was in. That's why they don't bring it up.
Absolutely.
Nobody sits around saying Danny McBride's win over Mike Tyson was an elite level win because they know Mike Tyson was at the ass end of his career. That's not an elite level
And
win.
all these guys they were starting to lose in fights. They were losing their top level in fights. They weren't beating anybody of real name though, right? It's not the same thing with, let's say, Tyson Fury when he gets a victory over Vlad. Vlad was on an unbeaten title streak.
Exactly. He wasn't on the ass end. Up until that point, he was on I'm gonna say 9-10 year run. He was on a tier of beating top contenders. He was a unified champion, Ring Magazine champion for approximately 9 years. That ain't the same thing as beating Leonard Bundu. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
I'm sorry, like that's not the same thing as beating Leonard Bundu. Jeff Horn is another example. And I get tired of seeing this. I really get tired of seeing this because it reminds me how stupid people are. Jeff Horn is a better win for Terrence Crawford than either Lamont Peterson or Leonard Bundu or Carlos Ocampo were to Errol Spence. And don't try to argue with it. He was a world champion. He had and put up a better performance against Manny Pacquiao than Keith Thurman did, bro. That's not a discussion. That's not a debate.
No, it's not.
That's not a debate.
Well, I tell you what I think is Algieri's best ever performance.
Amir Khan.
His controversial loss to Amir Khan.
Yeah.
He came out there like Mike fucking Tyson. Let's be real. He beat the dog shit out of Amir.
He was inspired. I don't want to make it sound like I want to denigrate a fighter the way that they like to denigrate fighters. I would never want to be that ignorant a person, but I'm just being honest that at welterweight, Chris Algieri was not a big name. He wasn't a big name when Manny Pacquiao fought him, and he was undefeated at the time.
All of Chris Algieri's claims to fame at welterweight are losing to big name fighters.
Exactly. And Leonard Bundu, God bless Leonard Bundu that he was still able to fight at the age of 41, but he was 41 years old and he never had any elite level wins anywhere. So why would Spence beating him be a big deal? Why would Spence decision in Mikey Garcia be a big? That's stupid, dog. And what I tell you, I'm sorry, like it's ridiculous. If Gennady Golovkin would have went to the cards with Kell Brook, all we would have heard Sunday morning is how he's a hype job. That's all we would have heard. If Canelo Alvarez would have went 12 rounds with Amir Khan, all we would have heard is that Canelo's a hype job. If Vasil Lomachenko would have went 12 rounds with low ass Rigo, even though he's older and smaller, that's all we would have heard Sunday morning. But those fighters delivered. That if you fighting a naturally smaller guy, you're supposed to stop that guy. And on top of you being supposed to stop him, you're not even supposed to get a lot of credit for that. Why? He's a naturally smaller guy. You're supposed to wipe your ass with him. Spence couldn't wipe his ass with Mikey. He beat him. He beat him one-sided, but he didn't wipe his ass with him. You said on the podium you was going for the stoppage. You couldn't even knock him down. And you was going for the stoppage.
Julius. Right. Look at Bundu, right? His three best wins are what? Lee Porty, Frankie Gavin, and what's his name? Daniel Pachescu?
Yep. And I'm supposed to fall out my chair. I'm supposed to fall out my chair that Spence stopped him, yo.
Great. Good job to Errol. Congratulations.
Like, oh my God, dog. Like, I can't believe he beat the unstoppable Leonard Bundu.
Bro, I'm just going to put it like this, yeah? What's his name? Erickson Lubin, yeah? He has a better win than that. His win over Ishe Smith's a better win than beating Leonard Bundu.
Yes.
It is.
I agree with that. I agree with that. The performance that Brian Castano gave against Lara is better than beating Leonard Bundu and Lamont Peterson.
Absolutely.
It's better than that. Who was Leonard Bundu to the welterweight division that I should give a damn that Spence? I don't, and bear in mind, I never knocked Spence for that victory. Why? That was an IBF eliminator. So I'm not hating on you, bro. I'm saying that you beating him don't mean nothing. The same way that you beating Carlos Ocampo didn't mean nothing. That man never fought outside of Mexico. All he was fighting was domestic level Mexican fighters. He was a nobody to the welterweight division. Beating Igis Gavaliauskas means more than beating Carlos Ocampo because Igis was world level and top 10 in the division. Carlos Ocampo was not, nor has he ever been, even here today.
Look, man, this way I look at it, yeah. If your best win is Frankie Gavin, and Frankie Gavin got knocked out by Kerman Laharaga, who got fucked up by David Abanesian, who got fucked up by Mean Machine, there you go.
Exactly. All we gotta do is play 6 degrees of Terrence Crawford. That's all we gotta do.
That's where I was gonna go.
Pacquiao beat Algieri, and Pacquiao was beaten by Horn, controversially, and Horn was beaten by Crawford. 6 degrees of Terrence Crawford. The same way they do it with Kevin Bacon is the same way we could do it with Terrence Crawford.
Based on triangle theories, Terrence Crawford's the best at welterweight.
I mean, you know why it's not triangle theories? Because we're not assessing common opponents per se as a means to forecast the outcome of a fight. That's not what we're doing. What we're looking at is the body of work and who beat the better fighters. That's what we're looking at, and that's not a triangle theory.
Once again, I use the word context as key. The Jeff Horn, like you kept up on that fight just like I did. There were reports coming out that he was draining himself to make the wave to fight against Crawford.
Exactly.
He was puking in the dressing rooms and everything.
But if we're going to factor that into an equation, that we then have to factor that in for Errol Spence versus Brook, because we all know Brook was struggling to make 147 before he even went up to 160.
Well, we do factor that in because first of all, Kell Brook was struggling to make weight beforehand. He goes up to 160, he gets a fractured eye socket, then he gets stabbed in the leg, and he has to come down 2 weight divisions, and then he has to have is he the same guy? He's coming off of a loss, he's coming off of a knockout loss, he's coming off a fractured eye socket.
Now, Lance Meyer. The difference between what I'm doing and a triangle theory is you look at 3 fighters who have a common opponent and you try to forecast an outcome based on how both of them performed against a common opponent. That's not what I'm doing here. I'm looking at who you fought versus who somebody else fought. That's not a triangle theory because I'm not attempting to forecast.
I fucking love you, Julius, man.
Well, yeah, like I'm not attempting to forecast the outcome of a fight based on common opponents. I'm saying you fought better guys than him. That's what I'm saying. You'd
be a great boxing promoter. You'd be a great boxing promoter.
I would be. Eddie Hearn needs to call me. I don't know why he hasn't called me, but he better get on the phone.
Eddie Hearn needs to call you, and Bob needs to call me.
Yeah, Bob needs to call you, dog. He needs to call you. You know what I'm saying? I'm looking at who you fought, and I'm saying this is a better list of guys than a list of guys that you fought. That's all I'm saying. It's a better list of guys. Why? I'm looking at the succession of victories because boxing, God bless boxing for being structured the way that it is. It allows you to go back and see who's who is who. And you're not gonna sit here and tell me that beating Carlos Ocampo or Leonard Bundu or Chris Algieri was some kind of big deal. Like, when did you start watching boxing? 2015? Them dudes wasn't ever making no noise in that division. Like, get out of here. Spence is overrated. Javante Davis is overrated. I don't even want to talk about him. Gennady Golovkin, I said it 1,000 times. That dude is overrated. He's never been pound for pound number one on my list, ever.
Javante been overrated.
Okay, it's okay, Daddy. It's okay.
Yo, we got Hustle over there playing Mrs. Doubtfire, man.
Yeah. I got my boys with me right now. I just came on here to spread some love, man. You know what I'm saying today? I ain't doing much today. Ain't nothing going on.
Happy Easter, man.
Happy Easter.
Happy Easter to y'all too.
I got a 12-hour shift later on. I still want to get a video out before I do that shift, but I got a 12-hour shift later on from 7 to 7. But yeah, I just wanted to get that out the way without having to make a video about it. That, like, yo, the way you rate fighters is based on what they do, not what you think, but what they do. That's the only way you could rate a fighter. Did he fight a top 10 fighter, or did he fight a world champion? Because that's the only thing that matters. Going in there and beating Phil LaGreco, that don't matter. Phil LaGreco didn't matter. So why would beating him matter?
Look, Julius, you know what the funniest thing in the world to do is? When people start saying Errol Spence is top 10 pound for pound, asking them to give a criteria, and then once they do, saying, okay, so based on your criteria, why is he ahead of Kazuto Ioka? And watching them crumble.
Bruh. Right now, Errol Spence, he cannot get ahead of Josh Taylor, because Josh Taylor, on my list, you know how my criteria works. Y'all know how it works. Right now, Josh Taylor has a better argument than Errol Spence. Why?
Hold on, Julius, hold on. We can barely hear you over Hustle.
Right now, Josh Taylor has a stronger argument than Errol Spence. Why? They both beat the same number of world champions, but the world champions that Josh Taylor beat was undefeated world champions. They wasn't coming off a loss. And he's not just unified. He's the Ring Magazine champion. And he got the Muhammad Ali trophy. He became a unified champion in less time than it took Errol Spence. He has a stronger argument. Until Errol adds another champion to his resume, or a third world title, I don't see how you could put him ahead of Josh. It makes no sense. If
Errol's best win is Sean.
Arguably, yeah.
No, I'll tell you why. Kell Brook, right, and Mikey Garcia, they're the other two best wins, right? Yeah. Mikey Garcia is coming up 2-weight division, so he beats a lightweight coming up. Mikey's the one technically doing the pound for pound stuff there, not Errol. Okay. Sean, he beat Danny, and he held the victory over Ugas. I'm not getting into opinions on that. You know what I mean? Not getting into opinions on it. He beat him. If you take a look at Kell Brook, he was coming off of a loss. So the only one of them who was in their prime weight division was Sean Porter.
1 second, Mark. 1 second. Bugsy, I appreciate that. Jacob, if you have to ask me who Josh Taylor beat, you should not even be in this conversation. And it really is that simple. If I have to sit here and tell you about his resume because you don't already know what's on it, then why are you even talking about this? I got to stop being nice to people, because when I go live, I'm real nice. I'm trying to just hear people out, when really what I feel like saying is, bro, you too stupid to talk to me. Like, you should not even be talking to me. If you don't know who Josh Taylor beat, if you can't name the 2 undefeated world champions that he beat, then why are you on this live? Why do you have an opinion on what I'm talking about when you don't even know what I'm talking about? I'm just saying, you should not have an opinion on something I'm saying if you don't know what I'm saying. That don't make sense. If Mark is sitting here working on his car, but I don't know nothing about working on cars, what do I look like talking to Mark about cars while he working on a car? If we over here debating which cereals is the best breakfast cereals, and I don't even eat breakfast cereal, I don't know nothing about breakfast cereal, why would I join their discussion? Now, you could be smart, like I said. I say it all the time. You're not dumb for what you don't know. Nobody knows it all. You're not dumb for that. You're dumb when you try to act like you know. That's when you're dumb, because you could just soak up the information and process it Or you could do what a 12-year-old would do and just try to talk for the sake of talking. I'm trying to help you understand by running down all this stuff. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to help you understand where I'm coming from. And you can listen to that and soak it up. Nah. Who Josh Taylor be? All right, bro. All right, Bert Sugar. Go make a video about it and see if I watch it. Go ahead, Bert Sugar. Go ahead.
Fucking hell. Yeah, Julius, you pissed off, man.
It's not, it's that, like, yo, you know what the thing is? It's like, I'm tired of people that should be able to use their higher function and their hierarchy of thought to put this stuff together. Like, I can't hold everybody hand through what is a very basic conversation. You see what I'm saying? It's a basic conversation. If you do not know who Josh Taylor fought, then what do you look like talking about him? You don't know who he fought. If you gotta ask me who he fought, then you don't know what you're talking about.
I'm saying those are not the best undefeated fighters. Well, come on to the panel and let's have a discussion.
Come on the panel. If you want to talk about it, come on the panel. It's a link in the description box. Here's another one. Look, Marcus is doing his same old. Marcus is another one. He'll come.
Shout out to Marcus though, because Marcus doesn't talk shit.
I guess, but he won't come on here live either. So I'm supposed to respect
he never does. He never does.
How am I supposed to respect him when he want to hide in the comments? Like, it's a conversation, bro. It's not enemies or nothing like that. It's just a conversation, and you don't even want to have a conversation because you're afraid that somebody's gonna make you look funny. How am I supposed to respect you for that?
Bro, one of these days I'm gonna have to make this entertaining and go against your point of view on pound for pound and have a debate.
Yeah, but I don't think the funniest thing about pound for pound is, right, I've reached a point to where if Mark told me that this is how his list is structured, I'm not going to argue with him. Why? That's his criteria. That's how it's structured.
We have the exact same criteria. Mine's just over a 3.5 year period.
Yeah, like my criteria is modeled after who? It's modeled after Sugar Ray Robinson. Why? He's the so-called poster child of the pound for pound list. So I'm going to model how everybody's career should stack up based on the same reasons that they called him a pound for pound fighter. And they didn't call him a pound for pound fighter for nothing. They didn't. They called him a pound for pound fighter because he looked sensational fighting top fighters in several weight classes. And he was a world champion. And he was on a hot streak. That's why they called him that, because of his skill set and all of that. They ain't call him that because he beat Phil LaGreco.
Let's see. Jacob saying Josh beat Regis in a close fight, but Regis was on the come up. Well, Regis was more proven than Josh Taylor to some extent. Yeah, he had more fights than him. He had a longer career than him. He had been fighting more years than him. So Regis was on the come up, but Josh Taylor wasn't. Secondly, Regis was more proven in that fight than Errol Spence was when he fought Kell Brook.
Well, the first thing I'm gonna say is that comparatively, Regis beat a longer standing champion than Regis beat Kirill Rillick. Kirill Rillick came into the tournament a champion. Regis beat him. Compared to who are we comparing Regis to?
Well, I don't know. I just said that it's not a great win because Regis isn't a good win for Josh Taylor because he was on the come up.
All right, that's stupid, dog. That's not even an argument. Like what? Oh, he was on the.
Riaz took Joel Diaz Jr. So he beat up Julius Ndongo just as bad as Crawford did. I mean, people. Ndongo sucks.
Yeah, but that's for me to entertain something like, oh, he beat a guy, bro. They're all on the come up. Like every single boxer that is ranked is on the come up. Like that don't make sense. If you ranked, you're on the come up. Why? You're trying to move up the ranks. Whether they're the divisional ranks or the pound for pound ranks, you're always on the come up when you're in boxing. That don't even make sense. I got to go back to my asshole 2018 shit because I was a bigger asshole. I tried to be more understanding in 2019 and 2020. I got to go back to the 2018 assholisms. Like that. If you don't make sense, don't talk to me. Go talk to somebody else. Don't talk to me. Talk to somebody else. The reason you talking to me is because don't nobody want to talk to you. That's why you here. If you went live right now, who gonna watch it, bro? If you went live right now, and why you think ain't nobody gonna watch it? Because you don't make sense. The stupidest shit I ever seen. You think beating Kell Brook off an ass whooping is a big deal? Like, why would that be a big deal when I just watched this man get annihilated? Do I gotta hold your hand and explain it to you? Why that's not a big deal? Do I really have to do that? Or should I ask myself, why am I even talking to this person?
Do you know what I do give Errol Spence credit for in the Kell Brook fight? And you'll agree with me on this. Going over to England, going into Kell Brook's backyard.
Yeah, I give him credit for that.
I give anybody credit for doing that because it's very rare with American fighters to go do that. Very rare.
No, I give him credit for doing it, but it's not the same thing as when Maurice Hooker. Like, I give Mighty Mo a little bit more credit than Spence because Mighty Mo was dealing with an undefeated fighter, whereas you knew like with Maurice Hooker's win over Terry Flanagan, that was a closer fight. Because if the fight is close, you're in his backyard, they might give it to him. But with Spence and Brook, you're fighting a guy who's coming off an ass beating that you knew was struggling to make the weight, that you knew just had surgery before he about to fight you, and that you knew is coming down from 160 to 147, whereas before he even went up to 160, he was struggling to make 147. None of this was a secret. None of that was a secret.
I always forget that Maurice Hooker and Terry Flanagan, that was the main event to Tyson Fury's effort for Fury, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That's funny.
That was a good fight, though. It was a good fight. It was close. It was scrappy, but it was close.
That's so funny. I always forget about that fight, man, because that was Tyson Fury versus the second best cruiserweight in Albania.
It was a
I always forget about that.
like look, Terrence Crawford went to Glasgow to fight Ricky Burns. Do the Spence fans give him credit for traveling? No. Usyk fought for every belt that he fought for on the road. Do they give him credit? No.
No.
Like,
Tyson Fury fought for every belt that he won on the road.
Yeah, he won the belts from Vlad in Dusseldorf, and he won the WBC in America. They don't even want to.
Hold on. Say that again.
He fought for all of Vladimir's belts in Dusseldorf.
That's great.
And he fought for the WBC in America. They want to act like he didn't even win that fight, let alone give him credit for being on the road when he did it both times.
And you know something, like, and people don't give him credit for this. He's the first heavyweight in history to end 2 10+ title defense streaks.
Yeah,
like he's literally the streak slayer. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's what he is. Fair play to him. Not bad for an obese cokehead.
I'm saying. It's like everything that they try to big up Spence for doing, somebody else did it and they doing it better. But I'm supposed to fall out my chair over Spence's and Davis. Like, man, get out of here with them mediocre guys. Them guys is mediocre, man. I'm sorry, but that's mediocre. I ain't even gonna talk about Davis' career. Like, what career, dog? What career? But Spence, you bugging out. That dude ain't no top 5 pound for pound. Yo, you based on what? Based on
Do you have him in your top 10?
No.
Me neither. High five. Shout out to the ones who know what they're doing.
I don't have. How could I have Spence? If I had Spence there, what about MJ Akhmadaliev? What about Artur Beterbiev? What about Jason Rosario? What about Josh Taylor? It's a lot of guys that they got the same argument that he got. Got the same argument. MJ Akhmadaliev only has 8 professional fights. He beat a unified champion.
Tied fastest man in history to become a unified champion.
Then compare MJ Akhmadaliev in terms of resistance, in terms of how competitive it was or wasn't. MJ Akhmadaliev versus Daniel Roman was less competitive than either Spence versus Brook or Spence versus Porter. MJ made it look easy.
There's a few people out there who disagree with that. I've seen a lot of mixed cards on that, Julius. A lot of mixed cards on that. I felt that fight. I can see swing rounds to where that could go either way. You know, I can. But it was a good fight. Look, I had Akhmadaliev win A4, but I can see swings.
When I was watching MJ Akhmadaliev versus Daniel Roman, I wasn't biting my nails the way I was with Spence versus Brook or Spence versus Porter. I was biting my nails in them fights, especially when I seen Porter go to his body and he literally snapped back in anguish. It looked like the scene from from motherfucking They Live when they was fighting in the alley. And Roddy Piper punched what's his face in the ribs, and he was like, ah, that's what it looked like.
He pulled a Thurman.
I mean, I'm bugging out. Porter versus Spence.
I know. Remember when Pac-Man hit Thurman in the body? He pulled away too. That's he pulled the Thurman.
Yeah, like it's not complex. Maybe Spence to get there. I'm not telling you that Spence is a bad fighter. That's the craziest part. I'm not telling you he's a bad fighter. I'm telling you he's rated too high. He's rated too high. It don't make sense. If I ask you how does his unification stack up with theirs, you're not gonna be able to tell me nothing. You're not gonna be able to tell me nothing.
Well, Spencer's unification is better than Akhmadaliev. Akhmadaliev beat
I don't know
champion.
about that.
No, I personally think so. And,
you know why I can't say that? Because MJ didn't have the bring along that Spence had. 8 fights, he's ready for a unified champion. That's sensational. If we're talking about skill, right? Remember, we're talking in the context of skill. How fucking skilled must MJ be that he could take on this kind of champion in only 8 fights? Really 7, because that was his 8th fight.
But also, you could make an argument that you can make a very good argument that Danny Roman was the weakest of the champions.
I don't know if I could do that. I would try. I would have to sit down and think about that.
I know he picked up 2 belts, but like, is he better than Ray Vargas? I would have picked Ray to beat him.
Bro, we got to look. All right, then we got to look at Ray Vargas. We would have to look at Ray Vargas. And what do we know about Ray? Emmanuel Navarrete in 12 months stacked up the same number of title defenses as Ray Vargas. Ray, what have you been doing? And who have you been fighting? What have you been doing? You didn't unify with anybody. So who are you fighting, dog? That I'm supposed to fall out my chair over you? If anything, I'd give it to Emmanuel before I give it to Ray. Ray fought for a vacant title. Emmanuel beat the dog shit out Isaac Dogbay for that belt 2 times.
Yeah,
That's true. Although Ronnie Rios had a bad win, and neither is Oscar Negrete.
I'm not saying they are. I'm just saying that the way Emmanuel beat Isaac is better than anything Ray Vargas has been doing for the past 5 years.
And beating Tomoki Kameda is also a good win.
It's a good, once again, I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying that what you're doing is taking a lot longer than what he's doing, and he's winning in better fashion than you are. You fought for a belt nobody was holding. Cool. You defended it 5 times. Cool. He fought for a belt that somebody was holding, and he beat him from pillar to post.
The unified champion right there.
Shit.
Okay.
That's the same thing. Look, when I talk about Katie Taylor and Clarissa Shields, it's the same thing. And I love Clarissa Shields. But I'm not going to say that you on par with her. She's fighting for belts that people are holding. You are being afforded the opportunity to fight for belts that ain't nobody holding. That's not the same thing, man. You going down in weight. She going up in weight. Which one of y'all is facing more resistance?
I'm just thinking to myself. Navarrete, he beat Dogbay, right?
Yep.
Dogbay, he beat Jesse Magdalena, right?
Yep.
That's it. No,
he beat what's his face before that? I mean, what's his face before he fought Navarrete? What the hell was that?
Cesar Juarez?
No. The Japanese guy, never been stopped.
Before him, are you talking about Hidenori Ataki?
It was right before he fought Navarrete. It was the fight before that. I'm trying to remember this guy's fucking name.
Hidenori Ataki.
Yeah, never been stopped.
Yeah, and who did Hidenori Ataki fight?
I'm about to look that up right now.
The best name on his resume was Scott Quigg.
That's not
other than that, he never fought anybody else, and he lost. No, hold on.
That's not a bad name, bro.
I don't care, bro. Like, we can talk about him not being stopped or whatever. Scott Quigg was never a good boxer. He was a good name, but never a really good boxer. Scott Quigg won every single round against Hidenori Ataki. He made Scott Quigg look like Muhammad Ali.
So, are we arguing that Isaac Dogbay is not as good a win? Because that sounds like the angle you come.
I'm making an argument that Dogbay is overrated, and I always thought.
Hey! We're not overrating Dogbay. We're assessing how Navarrete came to be a champion, and he
became to be a champion by beating Dogbay. Yes, Ray Vargas didn't, but since then his defenses have been much better. When you look at Hovanesian, when you look at Tomoki Kameda, I mean, yes, Navarrete done it in a faster period.
Are we trying to assess Ray Vargas versus Isaac Dogbe or Ray Vargas?
Ray Vargas versus Emmanuel Navarrete.
I would take Emmanuel to win that fight.
Yeah, but based on their actual resumes, Ray's got a better resume.
I don't know how I feel about that.
He's beaten more champions.
Who was you picking to fight?
What more? No, he hasn't beaten more champions than He hasn't beaten more. They beat the same number of active champions. Now, if you talking about former champions, I don't rate former champions.
Okay, well, based on that active champions, then you're right. We're both wrong because the only one who's beaten an active champion, if I'm not mistaken, is Navarrete. Former champions, though, yes.
I've said it before. I'll say it again. I have nothing against those who do, but the reason I don't is because it lacks a lot of context. I could call DeMarcus Corley a former champion. Does that mean it was a big deal when Anthony Yiggett beat him? No, it wasn't a big deal. But
in this context, it somewhat is because there was a vacant belt, but like against a guy who was a former champion, it's not. Like a guy who had just held the belt, it got vacated because he couldn't afford sanctioning fees, and then he went back and took it.
Mark, that is too much hair splitting. It's only a big deal. It's only a blip on the radar when the guy was doing good, when he was a champion. That's when it matters. Beating Chop Corley is not going to matter in 2018.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about him beating Chop Corley 7 years later. I'm talking about a guy who the only reason he wasn't the champion is because he couldn't afford the sanctioning fees because he lost his promoter, which is a different circumstance, isn't it?
That is a different circumstance than beating.
So he would have been the active champion if he could have been able to afford it, and he never lost the belt, and nobody else fought for it, and he fought for it directly afterwards.
Are we gonna sit here and call him an active champion even though he wasn't?
I mean,
that's the conclusion to your thesis. That should we be sitting here calling him an active champion even though we know for a matter of fact that he was not, regardless of the circumstances?
Well, I considered him an active champion.
But was he?
Not because of sanctioning fees, which is kind of disgusting. Because the fighter, no, hold on.
I'm gonna put it like this.
He won his belt. He won his belt, right? He held it made a defense, and then he can't afford sanctioning fees, so they strip him. And then his very next fight, he fights for the title again and loses.
Okay.
So he never lost the belt.
I'm going to give you an example. We know the WBA stripped Rigo of his belt and gave it to Scott Quigg, right? Disgusting shit. At the end of the day, if I'm looking at Carl Frampton's resume, I still have to count Scott Quigg as a champion, whether I like it or not, because that's what he was. It's not up to me to decide whether or not he had a belt at the time. He had a belt.
That comes into context of what you
I'm not denying that there's context, but it is not up to me to decide whether or not Scott Quigg was the WBA champion at the time he fought Carl Frampton. It is simply a matter of fact that he was. I don't have to like it. He still was.
Okay. So
same thing with Junior Dorticos. Lebedev, I forgot what they did. Lebedev was labeled a champion in recess, and they elevated Dorticos to full WBA champion ahead of the Gassiev fight. So what does that mean? Gassiev beat an active champion. That's what he beat. We could bring Lebedev shit into it at the end of the day, but it ain't gonna matter because Dorticos was still an active champion.
Okay, but by the same token, right? Would you not consider a fighter who he's the champion? He makes a defense, right? 2 months later, they remove his title. A month after that, he fights for the belt again. The only reason they removed the title is because he couldn't afford the sanctioning fees, right? So then they give him back the chance to fight for his title again, even though it's pretty much a defense, but because it would have been his mandatory opponent anyway. Would you not still be able to consider that an active championship status or a championship status fighter if he never lost the belt, he never fought against anybody else, nobody else had won the belt, and that's the first fight to take place, and it was only a 1 month period apart?
Isn't that the same situation right now as Devin Haney and Javier Fortuna? And the whole time that he's been a champion in recess, what have I said?
Absolutely not the same situation.
It's
And I-
practically. It's
It's
practically.
it's not the
You know
same
what?
situation because the
Practically the same
fighter that we're
situation
talking about beat
because
a champion to win his belt, and Devin Haney
the
was
guy that was
elevated
supposed
because
to be
another
fighting.
dude was forced to vacate, which is different circumstances entirely. Because that's a two active
You're
championship
talking. Listen,
status where you could
listen.
consider one guy above another, and in this other circumstance you couldn't, and the other guy got
And
stripped due to.
look, none of that is going to make the guy a champion up until he was reinstated as champion. For as hard as you want to play that violin, that's not going to change the fact that he was stripped of his status.
He was stripped of his status because a non-profit
It
organization
doesn't
is no. Hold on, no,
matter.
hold
It
on, no. He
doesn't
was stripped of his
matter.
status because a non-profit organization is lying about being a non-profit organization, and then stripping a fighter of being a world champion because they're not getting enough money because apparently this dude, whose highest fucking purse is 15 grand in his entire career, he has to pay fees of 40 grand. That's an injustice in the sport, and
Of
then
course,
you're
it's an injustice.
protecting the idea of the sanctioning body by promoting that.
So was Rigo's situation with Carl Frampton and Scott Quigg. At the end of the day, when Scott Quigg fought Carl Frampton, who was the WBA champion? Rigo or Scott? Simple question.
Simple question. One was champion in recess. The other guy was an elevated paper
No, he
champion.
wasn't a champion in recess. He wasn't.
He was.
He
Rigo was made champion in recess.
He was reduced to being a mandatory challenger in hopes that he would get to fight the winner. And when Carl won, Carl won the division.
Regan there was made champion in recess with a guaranteed mandatory. There is a difference.
One way or another. One way or another. Who was the champion? Who was the WBA champion when they fought? Simple question.
Scott Quigg.
That's all, folks.
And who was the champion?
I'm sorry. Let me tell you something. If you bring morality and violins into it, I could sit here and play a violin for a lot of guys, but that's not going to change the facts. You either were a champion or you weren't the champion. It's not up to me. It's not up to what I believe or what I think.
It's not up to me either.
It's not based on my moral compass. So if at some period in time he was unable to pay the sanctioning fees for his belt because he spent the money on a car battery or whatever happened, you still weren't the champion, bro. That's not up to me.
I'm just saying one thing, yeah? I'm just saying one thing. It's very simple. By no means am I claiming anybody's an active champion. I'm making the claim that context is pivotal.
You're making the claim that he was a solid win because he didn't actually lose his belt in a match, which I understand. But what does that go back to? What did I say at the beginning? Unless you beat top 10 fighters, which I'm pretty sure he was at the time, even though he didn't have a belt. Unless you beat top 10 fighters or active champions, it doesn't matter. So even if they took his belt, I'm pretty sure he was still a top 10 fighter.
He went to number 1 in the ranking.
There you go. But unless it's a top 10 fighter, unless it is a divisional top 10 fighter, no, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I'm sorry.
It's kind of fucked though, because isn't that a slight flaw in the criteria though, that when a guy, if he is a champion and then he loses it because of a sanctioning body ripping him off, that was way worse than the Rigo situation. That was because the dude was poor.
All I'll say, but look,
that's making it come out as though that the sanctioning bodies should be allowed to strip people because they're poor and they shouldn't be allowed to achieve the world championship status in a working class sport. That goes against the meaning of our sport. There were fighters like Archie Moore who couldn't afford sanctioning fees, but there were no sanctioning fees at the time.
As it may, how your career is managed is up to you. I mean, at the end of the day, I could sit here playing that violin and saying the same thing you're saying, but who manages your career is up to you. You can hire and fire your managers if that's what's going on in your career. You can hire and fire them.
It's not always up to you. Hold on, it's not always up to you. Because let me give you a prime example, right? Let me give you a prime example if it's not always up to you. Jay Harris. Don't you think he'd much rather have Eddie Hearn as his promoter than Lee Easton?
What did he sign that he can't have Eddie Hearn as his promoter is my question.
Yeah, Eddie Hearn hasn't offered him a contract. That's not up to him. He approached Eddie Hearn, but Eddie Hearn wasn't interested before the Martinez fight. Now he's interested, which is a bit different.
Now you're broadening the scope to where it's a question of can you always get what you want? That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying if your career is being mismanaged and you don't have the kind of finance to where you can pay sanctioning fees for a belt that you're holding, okay, it's up to you to get yourself in another situation. It's up to you. It's not up to nobody else. It's up to you. You have to figure that out. You got to work that out because you're the athlete.
That comes
If
into
you're
a
Dennis
question.
Ugas, look, if you're Dennis Ugas, who I just made a video about, if that guy can't get fights, whose fault is that? Is it the PBC's fault or is it his fault? It's his fault. Why? You want to stay on that side of the street. There's other welterweights out there for you to fight. You want to stay there. So it's on you. You don't have to stay
It's
there.
also on the PBC for not giving the fans the fights that they want. Also,
A portion of it is on them. I don't
you see,
deny
now we're getting into a point where we're arguing opinion on philosophical studies on
No,
what's
it's
the
not-
right thing to do or morality.
Let's put it this way. It is not my philosophy that Yordenis Ugas can do the exact same thing that Daniel Jacobs did. If you don't like what's going on, you can make that decision. You don't want to leave. All right, there it is then.
And
don't wanna leave.
anyway, and by the way, I'm just going to point this out. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is how you have a debate.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to disrespect. I like Mark. I'm not going to disrespect him. I just don't agree with certain things he said.
Oh, I
Also,
don't
I
agree
figured
with
out
anything I'm saying. I'm doing this for television.
But yeah, I looked at. Look, I just did a video about the welterweight division, right? I just did a video on the welterweight division. Well, Dennis Ugas will be lucky if he could get a fight with anybody. Because none of them guys is looking at him. What he could be doing is challenging Terrence Crawford because they just had you fighting Mike Dallas on FS1. Nobody want to see that. You coming off a big win over undefeated Omar Figueroa, and what do they do for you? They put you in there with Mike Dallas, but they could let Danny Garcia get a title shot for Ivan Redkach. If you in that situation, you must want to be in that situation because you could get out of it. Everybody knows Terrence Crawford has nobody to fight. You must not want to fight him then. You don't really want a title shot. A part of that is on you. Yeah, they not giving you the right opportunities, granted, but you giving them the power to put you in that situation.
So what you're telling me is, Terrence Crawford is at fault because of PBC. It's he should go over to PBC if he wants those fights.
You know why I won't say that? Because even if he goes over there, there's no guarantee he gets the fights that he's looking for. Errol Spence has been looking for a Keith Thurman fight to the point to where he doesn't even want it anymore. And they're on the same side of the street. Gary Russell is on the same side of the street as Leo Santa Cruz.
Well,
he could always.
Hold on. Let me finish my point. If I felt that Crawford crossing the street guarantees that the fights get made, I would literally say cross the street if I felt they would get the fights done. But I'm saying they're not going to get the fights done because there's guys that are on the same side of the street that won't fight each other.
Okay. So, may I go now?
Good.
Right. So, in your words, it's up to the fighter because he can control his career. So, what Terrence Crawford could do, and he's not done this, and he's not said that he's done this, not to my knowledge, is that he could go over and say to Al, I will join for a 3-fight deal, a 2-fight deal with Errol Spence, and a fight deal with Manny Pacquiao. And I will join for those 3 fights. He's not said that he has done that. He could pull himself into that position and force their hand into proving a duck. And if they don't agree to it, and that's guaranteed in a contract, and that's the only fights that he can have there, then there you go. But he hasn't done that either. So by your own words, he isn't helping his own career.
I wouldn't say that because we've already seen that cross-promotional, cross-network fights don't require 3-fight engagements or 3-fight commitments. We just saw Tyson Fury fight Deontay Wilder. Did Tyson Fury sign to the PBC?
He didn't, but still, Terrence could still do what I said. That's a different. I know that other things can be done. Listen,
I'll let you go. By your example, you're saying that in order for him to get a cross-promotional, cross-network fight, this is an avenue that he should explore. Yet Tyson Fury didn't explore that avenue, and he got a cross-promotional, cross-network fight. And he didn't have to ask Al Heyman to give me a 3-fight deal. He didn't have to do that. So if I'm Terrence Crawford, why the fuck would I do that? I'm watching. Hold on. I'm not done. I've watched Errol Spence call out Keith Thurman from the time he was a contender to the time he was a champion. He never got the fight. I've watched Gary Russell call out Leo Santa Cruz for 5 years. I've watched this. These guys are on the same side of the street. So what purpose would there be in me going over there when guys that are over there already are not getting the fights they want?
Well.
What I know, hold on. What I know is what Spence told me. I know what Spence told me. Spence told me get a belt, and if I get Jeff Horn's belt, he's gonna come see me. Then he moved the goalpost.
Oh yeah. We can get into what Spence said. But what I'm going on, right, and very, very good at twisting story. I know you're a good narrative teller. Now, if we take a look at it like this, when you bring up Deontay Wilder and Errol Spence and Tyson Fury and Crawford, there are a couple of prime differences. One of which is the possibility that Al Heyman has a lot more faith and puts a lot more stock himself into Errol Spence, because the marquee division over the last few years had not been the heavyweights, it was the welterweights. So he wants to protect his welterweights because that's the division he had more of a foothold in, because he only had one. So he's able to induce himself more money by putting on more in-house matches. And I think that's fair enough to say, because that's what he's been doing, is putting on in-house matches during the welterweight and the super welterweight divisions. So we're able to see that. So that's one part. The second thing is, by me saying that he showed more faith, he didn't allow Wilder to take on a legit top 10 opponent until he fought Luis Ortiz and then Tyson Fury. And after the first fight with Tyson Fury, they didn't really have much faith in him, so they looked to cash him out. Whereas with Errol Spence, they probably deem him to be more credible and younger as well than Terence Crawford. Vice versa with Wilder. Wilder's on the older side of things against Tyson Fury. So for him to go and have to fight Tyson Fury in a cross-network deal, fair enough. They can take that, cash him out. Whereas with Errol Spence, they look possibly before the car crash, he had more time in his career to be able to go on and do more things. So they want to be able to do that and bring him over. That's why they were looking at it as more of a marination process. Just like when they started with Wilder 4 years previous, starting to marinate with Anthony Joshua, then that didn't fizzle out. They were like, fuck, we need to make our money off of this guy. Otherwise, we're not going to get anything. Whereas with Errol Spence, it's a different situation. Nicely done.
The problem with your theory, right? Here's the fundamental flaw. Their practices are not exclusive to Errol Spence with their welterweights. They're not exclusive to him. So you're basically freezing Terence Crawford out. That's essentially what you're doing, which is fine. I knew you.
I'm not.
No, hold on. What I'm saying is, you mentioned crossing the street as an area that Crawford should explore. That's what you're saying. Based on the theory, based on the ideology that you are in control of your own career.
Based off of you saying that, not me.
Yes, I'm getting to that. And what I'm saying is, I would have agreed with crossing the street if I felt that it'll get him the fight. My problem is, it won't get him the fight, because Errol Spence wanted Keith Thurman for the longest time and he never got the fight. Now he doesn't even want the fight. Now he doesn't want it. I just saw him on camera saying he doesn't want it anymore. It's not worth it. Gary Russell is no closer. Gary Russell is no closer to a Davis fight or a Leo Santa Cruz fight, and he's been calling Leo out for at least 4 to 5 years, and he's been calling Davis out for at least 2 years. How many of them has he fought so far? 0. How many of them is he about to fight? 0. So crossing the street is clearly not the solution. If it were, I would have said that. Yeah, just cross the street, man. Get the fight.
But I'm not saying cross the street. What I'm saying, because you're saying that, I'm saying he should cross the street. What my actual statement is he should force their hand by pushing that out there. And then it becomes a much wider, broader, easier thing to rip them apart for. Because if he says, I'll go to the PBC on a 3-fight deal, these are the 3 fights I want. If this isn't it, then go fuck yourself. If he says, I want the 2 champions, he's chasing undisputed in a tournament setting.
The end game of what you're proposing is showing that the PBC is unwilling to make those fights. That's the end game. Giving people ammunition to vilify the PBC. The problem with that is it's not necessary. Tim Smith and Leonard Ellaby have already given people enough ammunition to where it's not about calling people's bluffs anymore. We all know they don't want to make the fight. They've said so already, dog. In plain English.
Yes. Absolutely.
I don't need to go play poker with Al Heyman and tell him, yeah, I'll cross the street for y'all if y'all give me these. I don't got to do that. Why? Y'all already said on camera that I'm not a priority to y'all. Y'all don't even want to recognize the belt I'm holding. So I don't
absolutely, Julius, absolutely. But once again, what does it hurt him doing that? What does it hurt? It doesn't do anything bad for him. All it does is actually raise. First of all, it'll help raise his name. Secondly, it will help promote the fact that they're not looking for it to a higher level that goes beyond just what you know and I know and a few people out there have seen. Because not everybody knows this about Tim Smith, as you well know. Not everybody does. These are simple things to you or myself or to people who study in depth into it. But other people don't look at it like that. This needs to be pushed out to the casual fan base because the
And what
casual
I'm
fan
gonna
base
say,
are the
what
one
I'm
who
gonna say,
dictates the markets.
what I'm gonna say is bigger platforms than mine or yours, bigger platforms like Fight Hype and DAZN. DAZN said it in plain English. The people on ESPN, which reaches millions upon millions of homes in America, they said this on plain English when Tim Bradley was on it. All right. Sean Porter himself, when asked by Marcos Villegas, Sean Porter's a PBC fighter. He said to himself, yeah, they're ducking him and they're ducking each other. When he said what he said, he wasn't talking about Sean Porter, and everybody knows that. He said that in plain English on camera. It does not need to be established that they don't want to make the fight. They have said in plain English they don't want to make the fight.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the use in Terrence Crawford beating a dead horse? What does it you say what does it hurt him? I say what is the point? To prove something that's already been proven?
I mean, it's been proven to you, as I said. It hasn't been proven to everybody. A lot of people don't know. I haven't seen the Marcus Villegas clip.
Well, a lot of people saw that ESPN clip, and that's in a bigger platform than YouTube. Well, I'm not going to say YouTube, but that's the biggest sports network in the country, and they've already heard it out of Tim Bradley and Andre Ward's and Joe Tessitore's own mouth. So
Also,
it's not a question of is Terrence Crawford not exploring every avenue. At this point, is Terrence Crawford needs a fight, and that's what he needs to focus on, getting a fight. Because what these guys are trying to do is freeze him out. Your real problem is getting opponents, not trying to convince people of what's going on. They know what's going on.
as disgusting as this is about the sound, Julius, it's not that they are trying to freeze him out. It's that they have frozen him out. And that's
They have frozen him out. They have. Lucky for him that Blair Cobbs, who's with Golden Boy, wants some smoke. Lucky for him that Virgil Ortiz, he's not going to get a title shot with no PBC fighter. He's not going to get one, and he's ranked pretty high in the WBO's rank standings. So he's got.
I think he's number 7, isn't he? Or no, number 3 in the WBO. Number 3.
You got him, then you got what Top Rank has to offer. Pretty soon, when boxing resumes, they're going to try to make Josh Taylor versus Jose Ramirez. The winner of that fight is going to go on to fight Terrence Crawford. So it's not that he has no options, but it's not the fights that people want to see. And that's on top of Kell Brook. That's on top of him. So he's got 4 viable options right then and there. But the options, that's not necessarily the point. The point is trying to justify why should Terrence Crawford call Al Heyman's bluff when we already know that they don't want to make the fight. So what's the point in calling his bluff? To say the same thing that we already know?
Well, the same. It's not. No. The same thing that we assume.
We're not assuming what Tim Smith said. We're not assuming what Leonard.
No, we're not assuming what Tim Smith said. We're not assuming what Tim Bradley said. We're not assuming blah blah blah. What we are assuming is what Al Heyman would do based off of what all of those other men have said.
Well, Floyd Mayweather, on the behalf of Al Heyman, via TMZ, which reaches more people than many of the platforms that we use for boxing news. Floyd Mayweather on TMZ said in plain English, they're not making that fight right now. They're not going to make that fight right now. On behalf of Al Heyman, who is basically Al Heyman's unofficial ambassador.
Now, did he say the words that this is on the behalf of Al Heyman?
Yes, he said myself and Al Heyman, because we're basically the same thing. That's what he said. You can look at the clip. I posted a video of it here on the channel. It doesn't need to be said.
Because I've not seen that clip.
Look up Floyd Mayweather TMZ. These are the keywords. Floyd Mayweather TMZ Spence Crawford.
Okay, I'll do it right now.
It's the one where they're outside. They're in front of they're outside in the street and they're in front of something like a building or some shit. And he's wearing a hat. At this point, you'd be beating a dead horse saying, oh, well, he needs to prove. He doesn't need to prove it to people. Anybody who wants to see the fight knows this already. We're at a point to where PBC's fans are trying to justify them not making a fight. We're past proving whether or not they want to make it. We're past.
Yeah, they're free agents anyway. If they wanted to fight, they could have went over to ESPN to fight them.
Keith
They don't want
Thurman
the
already said out of his own mouth that we as PBC fighters have more leniency and more wiggle room than Terrence Crawford because he
Yeah.
has an exclusive network contract and we don't. He literally said that already. We don't need to prove it anymore. It is proven.
Spence said himself he don't want, gonna take the easier road. They don't want the Crawford fight.
Oh, okay. All right, Julius. We'll go by your philosophy that he shouldn't do it. There's no reason to do it, right?
I don't think. I would say what would be the point? The point would
You'd
have
say what would be the point, but then there's a person like me who would like to see him do it.
I mean, that's cool, and you could want that, but I'm still gonna sit around saying, okay, if he does this and it works out exactly how Mark is saying, what is the point? To tell me what I already know.
Wouldn't he lose money financially?
I mean, I think so. He's getting a minimum of 3.5 million per fight.
Yeah.
Of three. What was Danny Garcia's last purse for Granados and Red Cac?
And I don't think it was 3.5.
What was Bugas's purse for Mike Dallas on FS1? Was it 3.5 million?
Nah.
I'm across the street, or I'm gonna pretend I'm across the street to prove what the boxing fans already know.
Just to lose money.
Just to lose bread and prize fighting. Because this ain't football, this ain't baseball, this prize fighting. You fight for prizes. So let me try to get a smaller prize.
There's a lot of background noise somewhere.
I ain't got no noise behind me.
Yeah, I don't got no noise on mine.
You don't hear background noise coming in anywhere, Julius?
I do hear that though, but I don't know where it's coming from.
Well, it's not me. It's not you.
I would say that such let me see. I would say that's Devontae's mic. I would say that such a pursuit is a redundancy. You'd be proving what has already been proven and what the PBC has already admitted to. So what would be the point? To do what? To accomplish what? That's still not going to get you to fight. Right now, they're trying to freeze you out. Well, they have frozen you out, and the order of the day is finding opponents. They clearly not going to make the fight with you. Keith Thurman rather have a Danny Garcia rematch than fight you. He'd rather have a Danny Garcia rematch. Spence is looking at Danny Garcia also. It's clear they don't want to fight you. What more do we need to do to prove this? Like it hasn't been proven. There's no point in that. That's pointless.
Do you remember when the thing
Porter
came out about PBC, Al Heyman, and the promotional contracts and how essentially he has final say on who they fight? Do you remember that shit?
Yeah.
Right. So we're saying Keith Thurman would rather fight this guy than him or this guy than him. Do they actually have a fucking say? That's the first thing.
I would say that Daniel Jacobs was likely under the same, and I say likely because we don't know with any certainty, but Daniel Jacobs likely had the same situation that they all have, and somehow he found a way to go over the matchroom. Mikey Garcia, same thing. They don't want it. Legally, I'm pretty sure they could get out of that because the only way he avoids federal investigation, if it wasn't that way, then the feds would have got Al Heyman when he was under.
Well, do you think that's part and parcel though? Him looking at people as fighters that he would deem more liability in terms of promotion and money. Like Danny Jacobs, if you compare it to who did the PBC really have at the time to fight him at middleweight? Charlo hadn't even yet moved into the division. They didn't have anybody. But whereas the welterweight situation, he has a lockdown where he can freeze other people out. That's a bit of a difference.
I would say that what we're seeing today at 175 is a mirror for what we saw for Jacobs at 160. He doesn't have any champions on his side of the street, but you didn't see Marcus Brown cross the street for Vosdick or Bivol, even though he had a title shot with both.
Yeah, but those guys are willing to do those type of things. Whereas when you look at Al Heyman, he's not. We're looking at Al Heyman's line of work. We're not looking at everybody else's to compare to Al Heyman. We're looking at what Al Heyman's patterns are. I would say
that Al Heyman likely deems certain fighters as being more valuable than others. I would say that. And it's possible that those fighters have different situations. The disconnect is whether or not Keith Thurman is one of those valuable fighters. Danny Garcia is one of those valuable fighters. Yordenis Ugas is one of those valuable fighters, or Sean Porter. I don't think that their situation is the same situation that Errol Spence has. They're not putting it all on them the way they're putting it all on him.
Because they're trying to promote him.
Well, Keith Thurman is no longer a unified champion, right?
No, he's not.
In all likelihood, his next fight won't be a pay-per-view. In all likelihood, the same is true of Sean Porter. In all likelihood,
Unless he fights Floyd Mayweather.
basically. But in all likelihood, neither of those guys are who you are putting the burden of becoming a pay-per-view star on. You're not putting them. You're not putting that burden on them. So you likely don't have Spencer's situation to where they literally don't want you to cross the street as much as them. They don't want none of y'all crossing the street. But some of y'all are more important than others. And Keith still don't want to cross the street.
Mm-hmm.
Danny don't want to cross the street. Ugas, I don't know what Ugas wants, but Ugas seems happy fighting Mike Dallas on FS1.
Mhm.
And that Mike Dallas fight came right on time when he was supposed to fight Vesputin, who's a top-ranked fighter. Coincidence? I think not.
You know what I'm doing though, Julius, right?
Playing devil's advocate. I know.
Exactly.
I know. Like, I get it.
Because you already know where I stand on this topic.
No,
Well,
I mean, I don't know.
I tell you why I'm playing devil's advocate. Do you know why I'm playing devil's advocate?
To prove a point.
Because all the people in the comment section out there who don't bother coming on, come on. It's not that hard to talk.
Yeah. But the thing is that they don't
This
know.
isn't even something I believe in.
No, Mark, what I'm going to say is that they don't know as much about the situation or can formulate an argument in defense of the situation the same way that you can.
That's just
just about
fucked
to
up
say that.
because I can't. That's fucked up because I don't even believe in it. How can they not formulate an argument for it? It's not
You're
that hard.
you're underestimating the general stupidity of people. That literally, you're underestimating how stupid people can be. They don't know all the stuff that we just mulled over, all those particulars. They haven't seen any of that, so they can't formulate a cohesive opinion on it. They cannot argue their points because they don't even know what points to make.
Do you think I've given them a bit of help?
Not really, because not really, because we've gone over. Look, it goes back to what I said before. Tim Smith, Floyd Mayweather, Leonard Ellaby, the people at the PBC, every mouthpiece that they've got working for them, including the fighters, they've already admitted that they're keeping things in-house because it's quote-unquote smart business for them. They've already admitted this countless times. And the same individuals that we're talking about, they've seen that much because these are the people that are justifying these practices. So they know already, they just don't care.
But what I'm saying is a new option that hasn't yet been explored: the idea of an in-house fight with Terence Crawford.
If in-house fights, give me a second. My wife is talking to me. If in-house fights, as a result of being on the same side of the street, were a guarantee, if they were a guarantee, then it would make sense. The problem is they're not a guarantee, so it still makes no sense. And if you went over,
It's not a guarantee, yes, and you were correct. But if what I said is the avenue he explored, that this is the way we make this fight. If you say no, fine, you fucked us. But if you say yes, we get the fights. Where's the harm?
I didn't say there was harm. I said it's a redundancy. I didn't say where's the harm.
Well, you say it's a redundancy, but if the fight were to get made that way,
But now you're inviting the possibility, based on that hypothetical scenario, that the fight will get made as a result of a redundancy.
anything's possible in boxing.
Not that. Gary, I mean, are we going to see Gary Russell versus Leo Santa Cruz next? I'm just asking.
Is it in their contracts for the two of them? Hold on. Is it in their contracts for the two of them to fight one another?
No.
This is a contract. I'm suggesting the idea that he suggests a guarantee in the contract.
And if those kind of contracts were feasible, don't you think we would have seen Errol Spence versus Keith Thurman by now?
I mean, that's possible.
If it were feasible, I'm saying, because we're talking about matters of fact. It is a matter of fact that these fighters have been on the same side of the street. It is a matter of fact that is a fight that Errol Spence wanted. It is a matter of fact that he turned down a Miguel Cotto fight just to stay on that side of the street. Yet
it's also a matter of fact that
you realize, think about it for a second. You could have got Miguel Cotto in the ring, and had you said yes, that's basically saying that you'd sooner get a Cotto fight than a Keith Thurman fight. You'd sooner get a Cotto fight before you got Keith Thurman.
Okay, but didn't he stipulate that for him to sign with the PBC that he wanted 2 pay-per-view fights, and he got both of them, Keith Thurman and Adrian Broner.
That's Manny Pacquiao. Does he have
I'm
the
about to
same
say
juice?
that.
That's
I
Is
mean,
Mo-
I know it's Manny Pacquiao, but we're talking about the feasibility, and it's still a fact that something
and,
happened when
and
he asked for a guarantee in his contract.
context, as you stated earlier, is key. Does Errol Spence have the numbers that a Manny Pacquiao has? No.
No, he does
Does he
not.
get the treatment? Hold on. Does he get the treatment that a Manny Pacquiao gets? No. How do I know? Because of the guaranteed purses to the fighters. They've both been PBC's welterweights that have been on pay-per-view. How do Manny Pacquiao's guaranteed purses compare to Errol Spence's?
They don't, but at the same point, the avenue that we're exploring is an avenue that they'd be able to make in-house on their side of the street, on their platform for a complete undisputed road. Because the avenue that we're exploring is a 2-fight series possibly on pay-per-view with Terence Crawford versus Errol Spence, which people would enjoy. It'd be a very good fight. The numbers would be pretty solid, and then the winner fights Manny Pacquiao for undisputed, and they'd be able to cash out at the highest wealth of extremes, which would suit Al Heyman down to a T, would it not?
Well, the biggest problem with that kind of an equation is that we don't even know if Manny Pacquiao still is on the PBC side of the street.
He still has 1 fight on his contract, doesn't he?
I've heard the opposite. I've heard that it's done, and that's why they're looking at Mikey Garcia for Saudi Arabia.
Well, that's kind of interesting because he signed a 5-fight deal.
And the other thing is that Keith Thurman revealed a lot about their situation when he said what he said. They have the wiggle room. It's exactly how I said it is. These guys can cross the street if they want to. They just don't want to.
Well, do you know what we could do? We could argue these points back and forth all day, go around in a circle, or we could ask the chat what they think. Should Terence Crawford offer to go over to the PBC for a 3-fight deal that would include undisputed, or not?
The first thing you have to address is, can he make that kind of a deal? Because he has an exclusivity contract with ESPN, and it's not up yet.
Could he not buy his way out of his contract?
I think it would cost him a pretty penny. I think
Could Al Heyman not buy him out of his contract?
I think it's possible. I do think it's possible. But I don't know with any certainty how much they would ask. I don't know how much it would cost Al to buy out that contract. I know that Al doesn't have that option the way that he did with Leo Santa Cruz and Golden Boy Promotions. He doesn't have that option. So it's going to cost you, and it's going to cost you a lot of money. Do you want to end up like Mikey Garcia, inactive for 2 years as a result of trying to buy out your contract when you're in your early 30s? Does that make sense?
No. It doesn't.
No. Goes back to my original point. Does it make sense to do all of this to communicate to people what they already know?
I think so.
I don't.
Because I don't think everybody knows this.
When you have executives like Tim Smith, the vice president of the PBC, saying these things in plain English, it doesn't need to be iterated any further, as anything else you do thereafter is not going to change his mind.
I'm going to ask you this honest question. How many people know who Tim Smith is?
I'd wager, based on what I've seen, that the casuals don't know who he is per se. Maybe they don't, but anybody who wants to see this fight does. I mean, we're not talking about Joe Blow that only watches big fights. We're talking about the people who want to see this fight, the people that either want to see Spence win it or the people that want to see Crawford win it. Those people know who Tim Smith is.
Those people.
Even if I go as far as saying, okay, not all of them know Tim Smith. You know who all of them know? Floyd Mayweather.
That's fair.
They know.
They all know Floyd Mayweather. I'm looking for that video still. I can't find it.
Let me see if I can pull it up. Floyd Mayweather TMZ.
Floyd Mayweather's done a fucking lot of interviews with TMZ, ain't he?
Yeah, they like him, but they only like certain names. All right, there it is. October 20th. Let me go to it. It says no to Errol Spence Terence Crawford fight. Hold on. I want to make sure that this is the actual video and not a guy talking about the video. Because it's via TMZ. It was a TMZ video, but this is not the TMZ channel. Yeah, see, this is a guy talking about the video. Yeah, this is the one. It's the one where he says he doesn't give a fuck about Pacquiao anymore because that was the headline. Let's make sure. All right, let's make sure he says the whole thing here.
I like how this comes down to a point of what does a horde versus, well, it's redundant. That's what this comes down to.
Greg, Dana said they'll. Says this. What about the money? So how many more years are you going to fight? What do you?
Oh, boy. Oh, he's fucking TMZ. Fucking TMZ. This is the video, though, but it's not the whole thing. But this is the video.
Carlos Ruiz in the chat is saying, I found it. What's the name of the video, Carlos Ruiz?
Yeah, because it's the one where they asked him about Pacquiao, and he said, fuck Pacquiao, and then he says he's the one who recommended that Pacquiao fight Broner. And then after that, they asked him about Spence and Crawford, and he was like, no, now's not the right time for that fight. We're going to let that marinate. And that was a year ago. That was over a year ago. It's over a year ago.
Well, what does a horde now, considering Spence is coming off of a car crash and it could be deemed as damaged goods by Al Heyman?
And what, from where, if I'm Crawford, and I can only speak for myself, but if I'm Crawford, I just wouldn't see the point in doing that. I don't know what would come of that aside from a massive waste of time in what is a publicity stunt, because it's being treated as a bluff.
Bro.
It's being treated as a bluff. It's being treated as a bluff to do what? To communicate to people that the PBC don't want to make the fight. Okay, we know that already. So what's the point?
I'd like to see it because I think it heightens the amount of people that would know. Did you catch that?
No, I mean, I get that you want to get that information out to a broader scope of people. The problem that I have with that is all the people that are affected by that fight not happening, they already know that. So what other people are you going to reach with that? The same people that didn't know Crawford still don't know Crawford. The same people that don't know Spence.
Because it's calling the bluff also of the fans of Errol Spence, who says, well, he hasn't tried to do this, and if he does try to do that, they lose all of their excuses and they can no longer debate the point.
What I will say is that
I just want to see him do it because it makes my life easier, goddammit.
And I'm saying that my life has already been made easier because I just watched the cross-promotional, cross-network fight between two network giants. I've already seen that. Fox and ESPN are network giants. And if you can make two network giants allow such a situation to happen between Fury and Wilder, if that can happen, anything can happen. So if this is not happening, it's put simply because you guys don't want it to happen. That's all it is. And nothing is going to change that until you want that fight. Nobody can make you want that fight. We've already shamed you and vilified you and asked you questions, and we know you don't want that fight. That's it. Why do you think I said in the first place that I wouldn't be surprised if they went their whole careers and never fought? Because we're past a lot of shit. We're past proving that they don't want to fight. They've already said they don't want to fight.
Well, look, the only reason I'd like to see him do it is because he's 32, yeah? He's got maybe 3-4 years left. The way things are gone, if they don't try and do something extreme, that fight's never going to happen. And that's going to be a travesty for the fans. That's the only reason I'd like to see him do it.
I'm going to ask you a question. Do you think Wilder and Joshua are ever going to fight?
I never did think they were going to fight.
Right? That's my feeling towards Spence and Crawford. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if they never fought. Yeah,
well, I'm just saying.
He's coming off, bro. He's coming off a car accident, right? He's coming off a car accident, bro. It's a wrap. Do you think they want to put him in there? They didn't want to put him in there before the car accident. before that. They didn't want to put him in there. He smashed the Ferrari. We don't know what state he's really in. Do you think they want to put him in there with Crawford now?
If they can get Crawford on a contract, that gets them a guaranteed undisputed
And I
fucking
still
deal.
doubt it. And I still doubt it. There was a time when Thurman versus Spence was as talked about a fight as this fight, and they didn't care to make it. And they had the situation on lock.
I don't think it was as talked about as this, because this is now gaining more string than that ever did.
This has had. I'm gonna say that the reason that this is more talked about now is because
It's had more time.
It's had more time. But
Well, actually, it's had more time at the two. Hold on, it's had more time of the two of them being at the top, because most of fucking Thurman and Spence was done while Spence was a fucking prospect being built up, kind of like Tiafimo with Loma.
Okay, I'll say the God, when was that fight? Keith Thurman fought Danny Garcia in March of 2017, right?
Yes.
That May, Spence fought Brooke. At that time, the fight was already a thing. It was already being talked about because Keith Thurman was asked about Errol Spence for at least 2 years.
He was asked about Errol Spence before he even fought Chris Van Heerden.
Exactly. So it was already a thing. We've established at that time it was already a thing. And the subsequent 2 years, it was still a thing. It was only in mid-2019 that people stopped caring. It was only in 2019. They did not have enough incentive, and this has already been built up. People will watch this, but y'all didn't make it. So what are we waiting for? Right now, what is Keith Thurman even talking about fighting Errol Spence? No, he's talking about fighting Danny Garcia. So I mean, it's like, bro, like, what are you gonna do? You ain't even talking about fighting Sean Porter again. You talking about fighting Danny Garcia.
Well, that's Keith Thurman.
All I'm saying is we are past a lot of stuff. That's all I'm saying. We're past proving anybody that wants to see this fight already knows this stuff. More or less. They know, they have an idea that, all right, PBC don't want to make it. You either agree with them not wanting to make it, or you don't agree with them not wanting to make it. But one way or another, you know that much.
Either way, I think it'd be funny.
I think what would be even funnier is if Danny beats Spence. That would be funny.
Julius, can I give you another point as to why you should do it?
Why?
Because you and me be able to make 9-10 more extra fucking videos with this fucking coronavirus shit.
Oh no, I got no shortage of subjects to cover, to be honest.
Yeah, I know, but we'd still get 9 or 10 more.
I literally took the list that you gave me as far as heavyweight prospects to watch, and I could do videos on all those fucking guys.
Yeah, me too. Imagine how many fighters I can do fucking videos.
Yeah, like I could do videos on all those guys and why you should or shouldn't watch out for them. And that's not even counting the girls, because I was already planning on doing that with some of the girls.
I'd like to see that with the girls, by the way. I really would.
I just did a video on this girl, Sofia Ochagava of Russia. This girl's amateur pedigree is like Matt Korobov.
Is this the girl who fought Katie Taylor 5 times?
Yeah.
Oh, she's a good fighter, man. She gave Katie work in 3 of those fights.
And that's what I'm saying. That's what her amateur record is like Matt Korobov's amateur record. Like there's not a lot of people that this girl didn't fight. And that's just
anyone she didn't fight. I mean, weight divisions.
I'm trying to think who's somebody that she didn't fight that also came up in that amateur, because she fought.
What about the Finnish girl that beat Katie Taylor?
Eva Wallstrom. She didn't fight Eva Wallstrom, but Eva Wallstrom fought Katie in the Amis, and Katie beat her then. So it's kind of like
no, I'm not talking about Eva. I'm talking about the one who beat Katie. She beat her in the Olympics. She was a Finnish girl, wasn't she? She beat her in the 2016 Olympics.
I didn't see those, and now I got another video I can make. I got another one. See, that's how easy it happens. That's how easy it happens.
Y'all motherfuckers don't be telling me I don't watch the female division. I just don't talk about it.
Oh man, I love watching them girls fight, man. They go for the gusto. I love them girls.
By the way, I'll sum it up for Julius. Will I tell you the reason why I don't cover it?
Why?
You'll get this from our conversation the other day. You ready? I
Right.
plead the fifth.
Really?
I'll give you all that information off air.
All
But I
right.
ain't. Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot. There's a lot that goes on with that shit. That's some fucked up shit. But I plead the fifth.
Yeah, man.
The only person in your chat listening right now who knows the reason I don't cover the female divisions, and I do actually watch them quite a bit, is Mark 37.
Really?
Um,
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Like, fuck was I gonna say? When the Olympics start, I'm thinking about covering that next year because I never covered the Olympics. But then again, I wasn't making videos when the last Olympics was going on. So I'm gonna cover the amateurs. I might.
Well, I've got a list of all of the amateurs, all of the rankings. I've got all of the fighters, what different tournaments they've been in, the placings. Because I was going to cover the Olympics like crazy. I was going to do betting tips, medalist positions, the ladders, who's one to watch, who's going to be ones to watch turning into the pros. That was going to be my thing, man. I'm still going to fucking gun at that shit because I've been covering that shit hard. I've been like contacting fighters. I've been contacting teams. I even know when people were sparring. Like about 9 weeks ago, I know that Team GB was over in Kazakhstan sparring with Team Uzbekistan and sparring with Team Azerbaijan.
Mm. Mm.
So we had I know that Fraser Clark was sparring with Yalalov, which people didn't know. So just shout out there.
Yeah, they're talking about they're gonna move it the next year. I hope they can.
2021, summer 2021.
I hope they can.
And do you know what I'm actually doing? I'm saving up money because I'm like, fuck this. Do you know what I'm gonna do, bro? If I can't get a broadcast deal, I'm gonna fucking go over there and I'm gonna try and interview them as an independent, and I'm gonna try and be the person who's interviewing independently the Olympics.
Yeah, you can do that. You can do that.
I'm gonna try and do that as an independent, apply for media credentials, and do it that way.
You can do that.
And go to Japan and make a holiday out of that shit because that's a once in a lifetime experience.
That's what I was gonna say. You could make a vacation out of it because technically that's what it is. You're just doing a little bit of work, a little bit of freelance work.
A little bit of freelance work. Probably get enough views to pay off at least half my trip.
Yeah.
Be worth it. Big time worth it.
Like shit, really, in all honesty, there's no shortage of subjects. Like even though, and we talked about this in one of the other lives, that even though there's not any weekend fights to talk about, there still are no shortage of subjects.
No, there isn't. I mean, there's a great subject that you and I can. We've pretty much been discussing it now, but like it's a great subject. The psychological impact of marination on our sport.
Yeah, yeah.
Because you and I, we were debating two different points and two different standpoints, one of which is a belief and one of which is a devil's advocate. One is more strong than the other, but it shows the impact it can have on fans.
Yeah.
It can show the lack of understanding, the lack of, I suppose, perfect ideologies and solutions too. And that's something people don't touch on.
Nah, I mean, I'll put it this way, right? The fight is actually a better fight, believe it or not, because it's two rival factions of fans. It turns boxing into a team sport. It turns it into that because it's Top Rank versus PBC, and that actually amplifies the fight. Remember when they was talking about potentially turning Wilder versus Fury 2 into a Top Rank versus PBC kind of card? It would have been a better card had they done that. If it would have been Ugas versus Besputin or Lipinets versus Mean Machine, just something like that, it would have actually been a better card overall.
There's someone in the chat looking for a link, by the way.
Let me see.
I agree with Lack 74, by the way.
It would have been a better card if that rivalry, Amadis and Duke, send a link. I want to ask. All right.
There's your link. I agree with Lack 74. Jules America's boxing commentary on the zone. Yeah, we'd make comedy, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. What they got going on, like I don't want to sound negative, like I'm shitting on what somebody else is doing, because I respect all them guys.
There's more talent on YouTube than there is on the networks, and that's a damn fact.
That is true, though. That is true. And that's because I think that they become network guys instead of being fans. You better off being a fan than a network guy.
I'd rather listen to two fans have a real discussion about what's going on, and I think it makes for way better entertainment than I think it'd do the networks even better. I
Yeah,
think it would, because the fans are the ones who build this sport, drive this sport, and promote this sport. Al Heyman ain't been promoting no Deontay Wilder, Anthony Joshua for 5 years. Who did, Julius? The fans.
exactly. That's my point. And that's why I've always wrestled with the idea of trying to be a pundit or trying to be a journalist. When at the end of the day, if you become that, you lose something. It's not like before where it would be revered or respected. No, if you do that these days, you lose something. I don't know if I want to lose that.
I'd love to see Ak and Barack like start debating shit, and then all of a sudden one's just like, well, who wins, John L. Sullivan or Anthony Joshua? That'd be funny.
I'm saying shit. Most I can say is I wouldn't mind it because it would open certain doors as far as what kind of show you could put on, because you'd have access to the footage. You know, you could break down a fight with the footage as it, you know what I mean? Like, you know, you can't really do that on YouTube because you're gonna get hit with copyright strikes.
I know. I mean, imagine all the stuff that if there was no copyright that we could do, Julius, man.
Oh my God! Just from a production standpoint, because
It blow through the roof, bro.
yeah, just from a production, a perspective of production and presentation, everything would be better if we could, but we can't. So it is what it is. We make do with what we got. I know I got a couple of tricks up my sleeve to be able to do certain stuff.
I have great ideas for shows on the Zone, man. Like, fill in some time. Like, you got Dr. Julius's philosophical breakdown. That'd be great, man.
Not even that. You know, boxing has such a rich history of culture. You could do episodes about fucking Sullivan, Archie Moore, Gene Tooney, Jack Dempsey, the guys that you don't hear about no more. You could do whole episodes, half-hour episodes or series on those fighters' careers. There's so much in terms of programming that you could be doing, and they don't do it, but they got this massive budget.
And the crazy thing is, well, they'll just be like, well, we don't have anybody working for us who can do that type of research. Hire me, motherfucker. I'll do it for you.
Like, shit, there's some motherfuckers that don't have to do research because they already know the shit.
Yeah, hire me, motherfucker. I don't need to do the...
But you know that's what this era doesn't have. This era doesn't have a Burt Sugar. Burt Sugar's gone.
Burt Sugar was overrated.
He was overrated, but he was a good yard.
Great storyteller. But amazing storyteller.
He was a good yardstick. Like, I'll say that Burt Sugar could tell you about something, and even if you don't agree with him, he would give you the point of reference and perspective that you could start with. If you don't know nothing about Rocky Marciano, right? If you don't know nothing about Rocky Marciano, I would say that Burt Sugar's assessment was the most concise I've ever heard. It was the most user-friendly explanation I ever heard. He was great for his time, but we don't know how great he was overall. He was great for his time. We don't know how great he really was because that was his time. Guys,
Hold on. I'm reading this. Someone in the chat says that'd be great, but you do have faces for radio. Hold on a second. Yo, what the fuck?
Oh, nah, he's trying to play somebody. That's all. It's all right. I ain't mad at him.
Yo, bro.
I ain't mad at him.
Yo, what up, Amadeus?
Hey, what's up? I had a quick question. See if y'all could give me your opinion and a breakdown between Better Beef if he fought Canelo at 175. Who y'all think will win and why? And then also Andre and Charlo, who y'all think will win and why?
All right, I'm gonna start it off. I'd pick Better Beef. Too much imposing size, too much physical advantages, and he's a guy who can actually box. I know everybody thinks of Better Beef as a hammer, but he has a great amateur background and he can actually box. He's very good at what he does.
Great hand fakes.
I would pick Better Beef by way of knockout, and it's not a knock on Canelo. I just think that that's his ceiling. Like, he's not really cut out to be a light heavyweight. It's a reason you pick Kovalev instead of somebody else. I'd pick Better Beef.
Right. So before I even ask, what's the stipulation in the contract for Canelo versus Beterbiev? Before I even answer.
He would have to knock him out to get a draw, right?
Well, no, I'm asking the stipulation. Is there like, is this a catch weight? Is this a rehydration clause? Is Beterbiev not able to come in above 185 when he's come in above 195 times?
Knowing Canelo would be a weight, some type of weight.
So I just want to know: is this under all fair circumstances or not?
Under Canelo circumstances, unfortunately.
Still pick better beef.
I still pick Beterbiev. The problem with Beterbiev isn't just how good he can box and how hard he hits, is that dude's a dirty motherfucker. He's dirty. He'll drag your head down to hit you with an uppercut. He'll pull your hair. He'll thumb you in the eye. He's done it in the amateurs. I mean, he's vicious. He's very vicious. I don't think Canelo can handle that. I think it's too much of a scene.
Yeah, it's not, and it's not a. I'm not saying it like I'm
not a knock on Canelo, man. Like that's just a bad motherfucker. That's a big 175 pounder. That's a dude who could go up to cruiserweight and cause all types of fucking problems.
It's asking too much of a small, stumpy fighter like Canelo who works off the counter. You don't want to work off what Better Beef's doing, bro. That dude's gonna kill you. He's gonna run you over.
Because he's trying to maul you the whole fight.
And he's an amazing fighter in the pocket, by the way. People don't give him his credit. He's defensively a bit lapsing, but that uppercut and then the way he's able to, he shifts. You know what I mean when I say shifts as well, Julius. Like he'll come in with that jab, he'll shift over with the right hand, yeah? Mm-hmm. And he'll throw that power punch, and then he's in the southpaw stance, and then he'll throw a power punch from the southpaw stance, and that left hand, it's like dynamite as well. It's almost as though he's ambidextrous. So he switches in between to throw extra power shots. If Canelo's having to work off that, yeah, he'll have he'll have flashes of success off of the counter. But he'll be getting pieced up too much.
I can't see Canelo counter punching even being a factor. You're not getting Artur's respect. Canelo wouldn't get any respect from Artur.
I'm talking on the judges' scorecards before you eventually get stopped, because the judges' scorecards, you know how they're going to be, Julius.
I don't think Canelo makes it past the midpoint. And once again, it's not a knock on Canelo. He's not built to fight a guy like that. He's not. It's not that Canelo's a bad fighter. I'm just saying that's murder. That's suicide.
Didn't Better Beef beat Kovalev in the amateurs?
2 times.
2 times. Twice. Fucked him up.
Kovalev never won the fight.
Well, yeah. Bro, there's a reason Andre Ward retired, right? You know who his mandatory was, right?
No, his mandatory was, well, I'm going to say this. His mandatory wasn't Artur. Artur had the – you know what would have happened. But
are you sure Arthur wasn't this mandatory? I thought Arthur was made mandatory for the IBF, and 3 weeks later, Andre retired.
Artur was ordered to fight in a final eliminator against Coling, I believe it was. Bivol was ordered. Badu Jack was ordered to defend his title against Dimitri Bivol. Andre didn't have a mandatory at that time. The one who maybe would have been his mandatory, maybe, was Bivol. But once again, Badu Jack was ordered to defend the regular title against Bivol. Jack chose to vacate it. Then Bivol got it. The inference you can make is that somewhere down the line, maybe the WBA would have ordered it.
Which I break down on the Andre Charlo fight. When I think about that fight, I can see how Charlo could win, which I have to be like out my mind.
Andre points. And I'm fairly confident in that. Andre points.
What you think, Robert?
Sorry, man. I'm busy. I'm busy fucking seasoning some meat. Hold on. What are we talking about?
Andre Charlo.
I think it's a good fight. That's what I think. I don't really care who wins, so I don't have any horse in the race.
So who do you think wins, though? Why?
I think Charlo.
You think Charlo? That's interesting.
I don't like the loopy shots from Andrade. They're about the same height and dimensions, so Andrade automatically loses a lot of his advantages. Charlo's a straight puncher. The looping shots, I don't like Andrade being off balance in a fight like that. I think it comes down to the network where it is. I think that could play a factor. I feel like Andrade's a bit too economical, and in that fight, he's going to be forced into trying more shots. And because he'd be trying more shots, he'd be getting caught more cleanly, and I think Charlo would stop him.
I don't know how familiar like you are with Andre. I hear people say about the looping shots, but any fighter, let's take like Willie Nelson. Of course, Willie Nelson isn't as good as Charlo.
Okay.
Any fighter that brings a fight to him, he does let his hands go more, and they're straight shots.
Now, Willie
Usually hurts
Nelson,
guys when they're coming forward, trying to be aggressive against him. That's when he's actually better.
now Willie Nelson isn't a good insight for Charlo because Charlo throws good straight punches, whereas Willie Nelson is an inside guy. If he's anything,
Exactly.
he's an inside guy. But the reason I would pick Andre is because one, Charlo's not a volume puncher. He's not an activity guy. He's a strong puncher, but he's not an activity guy. Two, Andre is a southpaw. They're about the same height, but it's still a question of lead foot advantage. And I happen to think Andre would get lead foot advantage, and his jab would come over the top of Charlo's jab, and that's gonna make Charlo gun shy. Charlo ain't gonna be able to get nothing going.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like there's a lot of things that you can pick. Like I mean, right. So how familiar am I? Like you brought up Willie Nelson. Well, why didn't you bring up a fight like Jack Kokai?
That's fair.
But Andre still won pretty much every round to me.
Not ain't even that. Jack Kokay's not an insight for Charlo because Jack Kokay's shorter than Charlo, and you could argue that at least for that fight, he was a busier puncher than Charlo.
Yeah,
You can make the argument also. Yeah, but also if you look at Willie Monroe, like you said, yeah, he's more of the size dimensions, but Kokay is a very good straight puncher.
He is.
Yeah.
He's punching from
Look
below.
at what he is punching from below, but Charlo also dips his knees quite a bit and comes up. It's kind of an interesting one.
I would say the difference between the reason I wouldn't use Kokay as an insight is because you give up a little bit of height to Kokay because he's a smaller fighter. You gotta give up a little bit of height. He's punching up, whereas Charlo's punches are gonna be eye level punches. I actually think it'll be easier for Andre to see those shots than it would be for Kokay. For Kokay, every shot is gonna look like a fucking uppercut because this fucking guy is so short. Everything's coming from below. And I think that those punches are harder to defend from. Because those are the ones that you don't see. Also,
Yeah.
I don't
Charlo's fundamentals are he's pretty basic.
And I'm gonna say also the other reason that I don't read too much into the Kokay fight is one, Kokay is actually a decent boxer, but two, also Andre was a lot more inactive when he fought Kokay. I think if you give me the Andre that fought Suliecki and put him in there with Kokay, he outclasses him fairly easy. But when Andre fought Kokay, he wasn't that busy a guy. He was struggling to get a fight. Now he's a more active fighter and he's looking sharper at what he does.
That's a good point. The other day, I don't know if you remember, Julius, but he was asking about when somebody brought up why didn't Andre fight Derevyanchenko. That was part of the reason Andre didn't want to fight Derevyanchenko because he was inactive and he's coming off an injury and he knows what Derevyanchenko brought to the table.
Derevyanchenko, what I would say that I do think that that's a real rough and tumble fight for Andre.
It is. Derevyanchenko problems for anybody.
Yeah. His problem is that he's not a young guy anymore, and he can't get a fight now. Now I think he need to go to Matchroom because he a Lou DiBella guy. PBC ain't fucking with you no more. So you got to go where they will fuck with you. They'll fuck with you at Matchroom.
Yeah, which is I don't even want to get into that can of worms, but you're right.
Blue collar, what's good? How you have it? Andre versus Charlo.
Charlo Andrade. I mean, from what I've seen of both guys, I've got to favour Andrade. I mean, I believe he's got the ability to take away Charlo's tools, which is essentially is a jab and a right hand.
Mm-hmm.
We saw how Jamal struggled with Matt Korobov out of that southpaw stance, and I don't see Charlo making the necessary adjustments to deal with someone like Andrade. Of course, Charlo has the power if he catches Andrade to hurt him. I mean, he got dropped by Martelosian. I thought Kokay hurt him a couple of times. Charlo's got a puncher's chance, but if they fought 10 times, I'd say Andrade wins 7, 8 of them, to be honest.
Can I ask you a question, though?
Yeah, go.
Outside of them having a southpaw stance, what are the similarities between Matty Korobov and Demetrius Andrade?
Not many.
To be fair, Korobov's a much better straighter puncher, whereas
he's a busier puncher too.
Yeah,
he's got more volume than Andre. But the reason I think that Andre being economic would actually make things easier for him is you're not opening up as much, so you're not giving Jamal as many opportunities.
Also, Andre's better work is off the back foot, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Korobov's better work is getting on top of you, getting inside, and then making you miss, and then catching you again, going to your body.
And Andre is so weird and awkward too. That's why I think that's a bad matchup for Charlo.
He is, yeah.
He had a hard time with what's the Irish dude he just fought?
Hogan.
Are you talking about Charlo or Andre?
Charlo.
They both fought Irish. Yeah, Dennis Hogan.
Right, he had a hard time figuring out Dennis Hogan's rhythm. So imagine him trying to figure out Andre, who got a jab.
Well, it's the same principle. It's the same principle as what we just talked about. The Dennis Hogan is a smaller fighter with a lower center of gravity. It's hard for a taller fighter. That is if that smaller fighter's doing what he's supposed to do, which Dennis Hogan, I don't know. You got to open it and find out. That's if the smaller fighter doing what he's supposed to do. That if you're the smaller fighter, you need to get mid-range to inside. Obviously, you can't stay on the outside. You were sitting up.
Right.
Dennis was doing what he was supposed to do. Even Brandon Adams, to an extent, was doing what he's supposed to do. But if they're both eye level, it's going to come down to who's the better boxer.
And Andre is the better boxer.
Or at least who's the harder guy to figure out. Jamal Charlo is not hard to figure out. There's nothing nuanced about what he does. 1-2, 1-2, 1-2. That's what he does.
Do you not see a fragility though in Andre's chin and balance?
Nah, because I saw him in there. Who did I just? He was in there with Walter Compton Duckworth, and I know it's gonna sound funny, but Walter could punch, man. That dude hit hard.
Very hard.
He can crack, yeah.
That dude
Who's
hit
he
hard.
beat? Who's he beat? Who's he hurt? How do we know? How do we know how hard he hits? Based off of him beating who?
Well, that's a good point. I mean, the only guys that he has beat is domestic level guys around this country. Because when I looked him up, that's all I saw, that he was really fighting. I forgot where he's from, country in Africa. But I watched a couple of videos off him, and I deduced that this, between his knockout percentage, the number of knockouts that he had ahead of the Andre fight, and how guys react to when he hits them, this guy can punch.
Yeah,
but by the same token, people from around the same area take Ebenezer Tete, and he took one punch from fucking Daniel Dubois, and he looked like his lights had changed completely. Whereas if you look at when he fought against a guy who has a notable chin in Kevin Johnson, he wasn't able to do the same thing.
Yeah, but
and that's where point proven of productivity and the level of opposition does come into a factor on regarding the man's power. We can't just say he's a big puncher just because of the effect. Just like when we look at Kong Song, who's fighting against Josh Taylor, who the fuck's he hurt? People say, well, he hits hard, yeah, but against who? Look at Deontay Wilder. Look at Deontay Wilder. People were saying that he's the biggest puncher in fucking heavyweight history, yet he couldn't knock out Tyson Fury, who's chinny. Kind of an interesting factor.
Well, I don't view Tyson Fury as chinny. We got to disagree on that. I think Tyson Fury takes.
I'm talking about how people view power in general.
Well, you're not taking into account if I'm skilled and I can make you miss, or I can neutralize, or I turn my head with a punch, or little things like that. If I'm skilled enough, I can take away your power. So you're right, depending on who you're fighting. But that doesn't always determine what this guy doesn't hit as hard as I thought.
I'll tell you this about Kong Song. Don't let him hit you clean. I don't care. Don't let him hit you clean. And that's the golden rule. Regardless, why? The name of the game is hit and not get hit. So if this guy got 20 fights and 20 knockouts, I'm not letting this fucking guy hit me, even if all his knockouts are against domestic level guys.
Right.
To be fair to Kong Song, he knocked out Kondo, who gave Lipinets a really, really hard fight.
Yeah,
shut up, Dad.
I remember Kondo. I think that was so he could become a champion.
Yeah, the vacant IBF. Yeah. That was it.
Lipinets is overrated. You got beat by Mikey.
Now, speaking of Andrade Charlo, though, another thing in my opinion that is kind of important is momentum. Since Andrade's gone to Matchroom, to me, he's been slowly getting better with each fight. Whereas Andrade, to me, man, since that Julian Williams fight, he's really gone nowhere.
He's regressed, bro.
Yeah, he's no improvements at all. Probably got worse.
What happened when you blow up 30 pounds in between fights and fight once a year?
Actually, hold on. Has he regressed? How good was he when he beat J-Rock? How good was J-Rock?
I think that the
J-Rock just
hold
got
on.
beat by
I
Jason
think that
Rosario. How
the
could
Jamal
he? We don't know.
Charlo that knocked out Julian Williams would have knocked out Brandon Adams at
When he went,
154.
he looked a lot more dynamic to me.
He
Just
was
looked more
sharper. His
dynamic.
counters was sharper. His reaction time was sharper. At 160, he's been eating applesauce and he's getting flat.
Even his punch variety was better at 154. Look at the uppercut who he knocked down Julian Williams with. He was doing more.
And that was a counter uppercut. He rolled the punch off. He rolled Julian's shot off the shoulder, fired a beautiful counter uppercut. Well timed. Beautiful shit. But at 160, he can't put away Brandon Adams.
Nope. Exactly.
Can I ask you all a question? Or is it, I guess, pertaining to PBC? Can you remember a time in boxing where it was all of these so-called star fighters who fought once, twice a year like this, like so inactive and undisciplined?
No, to be honest, no. I don't know if Dell or Mark can, but I can't remember a time when it was quite like this. When I grew up, motherfuckers wanted fights. Like the fighters, I'm saying, they wanted fights, and when they would talk about a guy, it's because they wanted to fight the guy. It wasn't just, I want somebody to write a story about me in the New York Times. Like, nah, I'm calling them out. I want that fight. Now it's crazy. Like
Well, where we're talking about what fighters were pretty much ducking other fighters.
Well, I'm talking about just like like y'all was talking about Tank. Tank's biggest problem is inactivity and the fact that he's 30 pounds above the weight.
No, I don't remember a time like this. I mean,
Yeah.
I can bring up different time periods where different fighters weren't allowed to fight other fighters for whatever racial reasons, but that's different.
One theory that I have is like inflated purses. So I'll give you an example. Let's say you're Leo Santa Cruz and you get paid, I don't know, 1.5 million to fight that. The last guy you fought, was it Flores? Whoever it was.
Yeah, Miguel Flores.
Yeah. If you're getting paid 1.5 million to fight Miguel Flores, why on earth would you fight Gary Russell for 2.5?
Exactly.
Yes, good point.
Exactly. like they was talking about that. Look, there was Leo Santa Cruz was getting $750,000. He got a $750,000 purse in 2014 for fighting Joe Blow, right? And when you giving a fighter that kind of money to fight Joe Blow, imagine what he's gonna ask for somebody that has a pulse. In essence, you're killing that fighter's fighting spirit by giving him too much too soon.
Wait, hold on. Are you guys saying that boxing and the competitive nature of the sport is dying because fighters are being overpaid to fight against nobodies, and then when it comes for them to actually make their careers, not willing to do it because they've been spoiled?
Not boxing, just the PBC. Not boxing. I'm being serious.
Is that what we're saying? That
hold on. I'm saying, look, it's not boxing. Let's get that clear. Josh Taylor has fighting spirit. You can look in that fucking guy's eyes and see that shit. Jose Ramirez has it. Crawford has, like, anybody that's not a PBC fighter still has fire. But it's the PBC guys that it's affecting. That just them, not these other guys. It's just them.
I would say Jamel, the smaller Charlo, he seems like he wants to fight everybody. He seems that way.
Jamel still has it, and I would say
hold on. Wait. Jamel has it, but yeah, he's looking to take a voluntary with Lara instead of having a unification with Jason Rosario. That's good.
Wait. Jason Rosario's people don't want that fight. Samson Lukowicz said they don't want that fight next. They said they want that to be a pay-per-view.
They did.
Jesus
so I ain't gonna put that on Jamal. Samson Lukowicz said that immediately after the Williams fight. He nipped that shit in the bud before it even became a thing.
This is another thing. We get these fighters getting one good win. All of a sudden, they think they're a pay-per-view star. It's crazy, man.
Well, that's, once again, I'm going to say, that's PBC fighters. For example, Jose Ramirez could seat upwards of 14,000 people in his backyard over there in California, right? I think it's South California. Nobody made a big deal about that because you're supposed to be able to do shit like that. Now, if you look at Davis, they was falling out their chair that he sold out an armory in Maryland. Like, oh, he a star. Like, what you mean he a star? He's supposed to be able to do that. Jose Ramirez did that. And they don't call him a star?
And listen, man, I'm skeptical. When they say, oh, this arena's got full capacity, it may have full capacity, but how many of those tickets were actually sold? How many were comps given away?
I got guys on Twitter that send me the emails that they get about how many comp tickets there are. That's why I always be saying that shit. Like, bro, like you not a star, bro. Like you not fool. Man, I was just talking shit to Leonard Ellaby. I told his ass like I got the emails, bro. I got them. Like I don't know, you ain't fooling me, bro.
Bro, I don't like when you're tweeting fucking Leonard Ellaby because it always comes up as a fucking block contact. That bastard has been blocked.
I'm gonna say he ain't blocked me yet, but I'm gonna keep working until he does.
If you want to get blocked, just ask him how easy is it to sniff an 8-ball in one go with those nostrils. I got taken off Twitter pronto, man. I got reported for that shit, and I wasn't allowed to tweet for 4 days.
Yeah, man. Like I seen emails where they'll have 1,000 available, over 1,000, close to 2,000 tickets that they intend to comp. So it's not a question like, bro, like yeah, you might have had 14,000 people, but at least 2,000 to 3,000 of them didn't pay to be there, and that's on top of what do the tickets cost? What are you talking about? $45 tickets? Like, what are you talking about? If the tickets is $25, $45, yeah, you probably will sell out because the tickets don't cost nothing.
Man, y'all just PBC hating.
Maybe. Beats. Yeah, man. All I'm saying is
this is meant to be a quick live, and Julius is on 2 hours.
Yeah, I'm about to get off because my wife is wearing a dress, and I'm gonna go bother her. Why you think I didn't do that welterweight video till this morning? I was supposed to get that.
Yeah, that was a creepy ass gif you put up on Twitter, man. That fucking creeped me out, man. That Little Mermaid shit.
That shit made me laugh, dog. I was looking at that shit. I don't know who did that shit, but that shit made me laugh, dog.
Yo, bro, I saw that shit, bro. I was a little bit stoned when I saw it. It just pops up on my screen. I'm like, what the fuck is this?
Bro, don't be surprised if I turn that shit into an intro. I'm gonna find a way. To turn that into some shit. But real shit.
You could do that shit fucking up in the corner, fucking opaque over Spuddy, and Spuddy fucking spazzing out.
I'm gonna find the right sound bite of somebody saying some shit, and then I'm gonna just go to that. I'm gonna find the right.
You could take the Why Is Love Gay. You could take the Why Is Love Gay fanboy from Wilder. Why is love gay?
Nah, I'm gonna tell you what. I could take the sound bite of Raekwon Bell and how he loved. You know what? I could take that.
Black cock.
I could take that shit and turn that into this shit.
Was I not allowed to say that?
What happened?
Was I not allowed to say that Raekwon loves black cock?
I mean, I don't know. Motherfucking, they ain't let me monetize that, so I'm gonna just assume it was because of that. Anyway, fellas, I gotta go. My family is on an indoor Easter egg hunt, so I'm gonna holler at y'all.
Have a good one, Julius. Shout out to the chat. Stay safe. Wipe your arse.
Peace.